Been a thrilling UK Open, hasn't it? Surprises everywhere.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. It's nice to have you back, Hannah, at the pool. Look, 256 players all came to this huge arena in here, and it seems so strange and it's very quiet because it's got so dramatic at the last 16 stage. You know, we have the 16 players behind us and then also the 8 juniors as well. So I just think it's fantastic to see sort of new faces coming through. And I think that's the beautiful thing about nine ball is that you can't really predict your champion. You know, you watch the snooker or you watch the darts and you think, you know, they're probably going to win. And you do have the favourites, but there are so many incredible players, so much talent. And there's going to be a new champion. It's fantastic to see.
Well, this is just it, isn't it, as well, Joe? With how things have shaken out this week, we are seeing players make breakthroughs. When I asked you for your prediction earlier, you said there's the informed guy and there's the trending guy, and that's so often the case.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in nine-ball pool. I mean, the great players are what make the next level down even better. They get to play more pool. They get a little more time on the table, and you know, you start trending in the right way. You start to believe. You never know.
Well, someone who must be believing in himself this week is Aloysius Yap. He's booked his space in the quarterfinals and he's talking to Ashley Wilmot.
Congratulations, a very composed, confident performance from yourself. What did you make of that game?
I felt I played pretty well. She gave me quite a lot of chances at the start and I managed to take them quite well. And then, yeah, I'm really relieved to go through. You know, I respect Carlo a lot and yeah, we always practice together, so I learn a lot from him.
Those opportunities that he gifted you, that started early on in the match. He scratched in rack 1. Was there a changing point for you? Was that the point where you thought, this is mine? Can I take control of it?
Yeah, at the start I just felt like, you know, it's still too early to tell, but towards the middle he kept on making mistakes, and then I felt like halfway through the set, I felt like maybe I could really do this.
How much confidence does this win now give you going into the quarterfinals now?
I'm feeling pretty good, but I know everybody's tough, so I just have to really just focus on my game and really hope luck's on my side and just do my best.
Good to speak to you. Well done today.
Thank you.
There was quite a reaction from you, Emily, when Aloysius said that he was lucky in that game.
I know, I was coming through and he just went, oh, lucky Emily. I was like, you're the Reyes Cup MVP, Aloysius. And like what you said, it was a dominant performance. Look, he's an incredible player. He's always sort of been knocking on the door. And when the team all, you know, lifted him up at the Reyes Cup last October, it was such an incredible feeling. Like Johan Chua put he put the teams and the players out in a specific order. He wanted like Aloysius to get that MVP because he had played so brilliantly during that entire tournament. So look, it's just great to see the new faces here. I must say, during this game I was watching the juniors and I can say the semi-finals, we've got Savannah Easton. You know, she's a 15-year-old girl from America. She's come over, she's just got into the semi-finals for the junior event, and a 10-year-old Hugo. The reaction we got from him to make the semi-finals was incredible. His dad's crying. Some of the other juniors who have left the tournament, their dads turn around and said, you know, they've said they want to quit football now and they want to start playing pool. And I'm like, yes, get it. And so, which is what it's all about. And, you know, these are the new generation coming through. And we've got Jason Shaw back out on this table, obviously, for his last 16 match. And this junior tournament is named after him. And it's just such a great spectacle to have so much talent in one building.
Yeah, we are looking forward to the junior final this evening, and we will be keeping a very close eye on it when those final 2 players go through. JJ, it's fantastic to see, isn't it? Like we've mentioned already, the way this tournament's unfolded this week, we're seeing new people come through all the time. Aloysius Yap's been knocking on the door of a major success for some time now, and there's this generation of juniors snapping at their heels.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there isn't much age difference between some of them playing in the main event and some of them in the juniors, and we've seen some transition into the main events, which is awesome, and that's kind of the goal, I think. But moving forward, we're going to see Jason Shaw. He's got a lot on his shoulders. He's playing great, but he's been pretty loose, I think, ever since the European Open. So I look for him to perform pretty well.
Just on Jason Shaw, Emily, we know how much he'd love to win a major championship on home soil.
I know. Sometimes I try and hide my excitement for when we were in Hanoi Open and he won that year. I was behind the table. I had to contain myself because the thing is that we see behind the scenes Jason, like we see the real Jason, and he is such like a big character. And a lot of people say he gets into the Moscone because he's like a British player and he is that personality. But actually, he has a huge talent and he wears his heart on his sleeve. And he just, you can tell he wants this. He wants to win, and to win this on home soil would be incredible. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but if there's anyone that can deal with the pressure, that is Jason Shaw.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, is there a case sometimes, JJ, of the pressure being a bit too much? If you want it a bit too much, do you overplay?
I mean, that happens to everyone, but I mean, Jason's picture perfect. He's built for this, and he's going to leave it out there. And like she said, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and but we'd like to see that, and he would be a great champion.
He dealt with the pressure very well as well, didn't he, when he won that Hanoi Open?
Well, it seems like when the pressure's highest is when he performs the best, and I think just stay in the moment, and he'll be okay.
Let's talk briefly about his opponent as well in this one, Win Antoine. A great prospect, an exciting prospect. He's a real threat, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And, he's a great character and he's loved by millions of fans, obviously over in Vietnam. And, he played in our Premier League pool before as well. And look, he's a great talent. I watched his game last night. Sorry, all these days are rolling into one.
You've not seen daylight for a while, Serena, have you?
Watched his game last night, and he's very emotional on the table. You can tell when he's happy with a shot and he's not so happy. So look, he's got a tough match, Jason, on his hands here, and I think it's going to be super exciting. And it just makes me even more excited when we're coming up to the Hanoi Open this October. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great one.
What's the key then for this one? How's this next match going to unfold, do you think, JJ?
Well, I think it's two great shot makers. I think Jason, of course, leads that a little bit over Win Antoine. Win Antoine, though, when I first saw him here, I saw how much he improved, and it seemed like every day he improved a little more. 3 Vietnamese have made this final 16, and we all knew it was a numbers game when we first went over there, and we saw how everyone in the country is so invested in the sport. So Win Antoine to lead out here for Vietnam. He's got to have a good start probably, but he's a heck of a talent. We'll see what happens.
Oh, we are so looking forward to this one, aren't we? JJ, Emily, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because on the other side of it, this man, Jason Shaw, will look to book his spot in the quarterfinals at his home open against Win Antoine.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
It is very much playoff time when it comes to the EFL, and it's a very busy weekend across Sky Sports football for you. Notts County against Wimbledon this evening. For Notts County, they're aiming to return to League One for the first time since 2015. That starts at 7:30 this evening on Sky Sports football. Also League Two action for you tomorrow at 3 o'clock between Chesterfield and Walsall. In League One, it's two teams seeking a return to the Championship as Wycombe Wanderers and Charlton Athletic have their first leg tomorrow evening at 6. Then Monday, it is the Championship playoffs. Sheffield United against Bristol City at 7:30. Then Tuesday, it's Advantage Sunderland. They lead Coventry heading into the second leg of their fixture, also at 7:30, and also on Sky Sports Football. So we are very deep into the last 16 this afternoon. Jason Shaw is up at the table against Win and Tkon. In our second match here on Table 1, we are of course keeping you up to date with the goings on the outer tables as our quarter-final lineup starts to become a little bit clearer. This one promises to be an absolutely fascinating encounter between a man who'd love to cause what might be a little bit of an upset here on UK soil and Jason Shaw, who's desperate to win a UK Open title. Let's head over to commentary, where Jeremy Jones is alongside Michael McMullen.
Thanks, Hannah. Good afternoon, everyone. You know, since this championship was first played, Jason Shaw has always carried the weight of home expectation, but he has not carried it comfortably. In fact, he's never previously been beyond this stage, or even at this stage. So this match is the first time Shaw has ever featured in weekend play at the UK Open. And Jeremy, we've seen sometimes in the past his hopes in the UK Open have ended on one of the outside tables, but he's got through that phase of the tournament. Here he is on centre stage, Jason Shaw, and that's where he thrives.
He's had a few things in the past get away. I mean, he's let a few leads go. We can see Win Antoine's road to this final 16, and he's been impressive. But yeah, Jason, I think last night a match started to not really slip. That's the wrong word. He wasn't really making mistakes with the big lead. It just looked like it was one of those matches that may get away. Unfortunately for his opponent, he missed the 9 to make it 9-8 in that race to 10. But we've seen some of those big leads kind of get extinguished for Jason in the past. But I think he's in a good spot this year.
Yeah, we saw Win Antoine's route there, and for me the significant match, in fact, was the one that he lost in winners' qualification against Aloysius Yap. Now, he then did go to the loser's side and managed to get through to single elimination, but that match against Yap was on the main table, so that's definitely got to stand to him, the fact that it's not as if he's coming out here to play this match having not been in this environment at any stage this week. He was centre stage against Yap the other day and was holding his own against him at 4-all until Yap just pulled away and started playing actually one of the best spells we've seen from anyone all week.
Yeah, I think that match, like you said, is going to actually do good things for Win Antoine, even though he did make some mistakes. He kind of maybe confronted some of those mistakes in that match and moved forward to play great pool afterwards and not totally foreign to the table. You can see Jason's kind of smooth sailing somewhat in the early rounds, and then a couple close matches in that single elimination stage.
Yeah, coasted really through the first phase of the tournament, and then defeating Chang Yong Lin. Well, that's always a good result, isn't it? Former World Championship runner-up, vastly experienced Chang. And then that match we were talking about last night, where he was leading 9-4. Lu Hai Chan got it all the way back to 9-7, but even that doesn't tell the full story by any means, because in the next rack, Lou had done all the hard work and then very unexpectedly missed the 9 with a chance to get back to 9-8, and well, that was the end of that. Left it over the pocket, so Shaw through, and here he is in the last 16, and he's lagging for break.
Win Antoine wins
yeah,
a lag.
It wasn't a difficult 9 at all for his opponent last night, especially what he had done the previous 3 or 4 games, just really getting out from all places. And Jason's was, you know, you never want your opponent to miss a cupcake like that. No one wants to see it, but Jason was pretty relieved to get across the line.
So Shaw's first last 16 appearance in the UK Open, Wen's first last 16 showing in any of these tournaments. And he'll start us off.
Well, exactly what you want to see. Of course, the one down, the two by itself. Cue ball escaped all those little kisses coming back and forth between the rack, and you can't ask for much more to start, especially as a little bit of an underdog.
Breaking new ground. Best he's done in one of these Matchroom majors in the past was the last 32 showing at the World Championship a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we talked about it. 3 Vietnamese players made it into this final 16. He's going forward here. Okay, so feeling pretty good to start, because he could have just laid up for a little cut shot. And now things may actually get a little more odd, because he cannot avoid contact on the pink 4 as the 3 enters the pocket.
3 Vietnamese, as you say, making it through to the weekend. We're guaranteed to have at least one in the quarterfinals, because Duong Quoc Quang and Pong Nam Pham are playing each other. Duong leading 8-7 at the moment.
Yeah, and it was always a question mark where the 4 and how and where it was going to go and how it was going to react. Now, one thing you'll see with Nguyen Antoine, he is not afraid to take on tough shots. I think he looks for the corner here by the 8. Travel the cue ball some 3 cushions around the 5 and 6. And he's overcut this. And in these big, intense, high-pressure matches, you got to experience that quick stroke every now and again. And he got a little snatchy with the backswing, and that tends to lead to that overcut, it seems.
Well, the first year of the UK Open, it was only a 16-player single elimination stage, and Shaw didn't make it as far as that. He did make single elimination in both of the last 2 years, but lost in the last 32 2 years ago to Ko Ping Chung, and went out in the last 64 last year to Tobias Bonger. So it's already his best ever UK Open.
Yeah, and I tell you, to do it the right way, especially having his struggles, to draw Chang, right, in that final 64, probably the toughest draw in the entire event. And for him to get past that early, that's got to serve a big purpose, I think, for Eagle Eye moving forward. But I think this happened a long time ago as far as Jason. Talked to him a lot in Bosnia, hung out a lot. We were there some 20 days. And, there are a few players that missed this event because of a big event in China, involving Q sponsors and whatnot. Talked to Jason. I said, do you have to go to China? He said, well, they wanted me to go, but I want to play pool. And that right there showed me a lot.
So Wen had the break. He made the 1, got as far as the 4 ball, missed it by some distance really, and Shaw took care of business from there. So he's leading 1-0. Shaw looking to make the UK Open quarter-finals for the first time. And of course, there's one British player, indeed one Scot already through, Fraser Patrick earlier. As we see the miss on the 4 again from Wen. And that's a landmark moment. Fraser Patrick getting through, because in this 4th staging of the UK Open, it's actually the first time a UK player has been in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, well, usually wherever we're at, there's a big contingent from that area, and there was plenty here from the UK, but
Rack 2.
good to see them making
Jason
strides.
break, leading 1 rack to 0.
Just like Elliott, right? He's been at it for a while, and he's starting to see some big results.
Yeah, Yorkshireman Elliott Sanderson. Shaw's first break of the match then.
Watch out, cue ball. He's going to avoid it. I thought he was. No.
Foul.
You're going to have some of those. It seems like almost every match, at least 1 or 2.
Ball in hand.
And after a big miss in game 1, we always talk about it. Ball in hand is something makes you forget about that mistake. Now we'll get a look at the table here in a moment. And even with ball in hand, and what looks like a really nice spread, and it is a nice spread, but I think the 5 is a little tricky. 5 doesn't pass the 9. And I don't think the 5 passes the 7 on the lower end either, so he's going to have to get on the 4 ball and then get to the back side of the purple. I don't think he'll play a 5-9 combination here in a couple shots.
Antoine, 36 years of age, 90th in the world rankings, but that's going to improve on the back of his showing here. He's been around a while, had a couple of last 64 showings at the World Championship, a decade or so ago.
It doesn't appear he can get much closer to the 6, so he's going to have to take a little distance there. Doesn't need to draw the cue ball much, just enough to kind of get off the rail. That way cueing is nice. That's one thing you also got to look at and love about Win Antoine is he really doesn't back off. You know, a lot of players would have kind of tried to just slide that ball in as easy as they could, making the pocket a little more friendly. But he's going to kind of do it how he likes to do it, and he's improved in that manner also.
So Jason Shaw scratched off the break. Sat down for the rest of us when Antoine levels at 1 each. So as I said, Fraser Patrick already through. And in the quarterfinals, he'll play either Pius Labutus or Mickey Kraus. That one is level at 1-all at the moment. 8-all now between Duong Kwok Kwang and Phuong Nam Pham. And this is over on table 2. Naoki Oi, who reached the final of the last Matchroom Open event in Sarajevo a couple of months ago, is taking on Tyler Steyer, who had pretty much the best win of his life last night against Joshua Filler. Just didn't put a foot wrong for the whole match. And it's Steyer leading 4-2, but Japan's Oi at the table, making the bank. Still a bit of work to do. That's a test in 8. If he's to continue his progress to try to get back to only 1 behind. I know you're very close with all the Americans. JJ, did you speak to Tyler after his wonderful win last night?
No, I didn't get a chance. Tried to kind of give him a fist pump from a little ways away, but never really caught his attention. He was fairly wrapped up. Oh, great shot there after a lot of a mistake with the cue ball, and now Oi, a big fan favorite as well. But no, I didn't get to talk to him, but you know, kind of let him do his thing anyways, right? I mean, it's been a funny tournament for Tyler. Started off way subpar, and then really has just picked it up since.
Yeah, I did speak to him afterwards, and I asked him if he rated it as the best win of his life, and he thought about it for a few moments, and adding everything up, playing the guy who just won the last big Matchroom Open event on the main table to get through to the weekend of a big tournament, he decided it probably was the best win he'd ever had.
Yeah, especially to do it. You know, they both played an exceptional match. I mean, it was, huge mistake here. The right hand didn't serve its purpose there for Win Antoine, and this is the little things he has to make sure he avoids in playing any player in this final 16.
Well, you rely on a bit of fortune no matter how good you are with the break, but this is what you're always hoping for, isn't it? Make a ball and then have an easy one to get you off and running after that with a decent layout, and he's just completely wasted it there straight away.
Yeah, not too hard of a jump for these guys, but after you make that mistake, oh, he may fluke it. So essentially not taking advantage of a great break off here in game 3. And one thing about Jason, when it talks about the break, in my opinion, he's become a top 5 or 8 breaker on tour, really. Maybe even better. Seems to rarely miss the one.
Like his opponent, Shaw is 36 years of age, 11th in the world rankings. We're used to seeing him higher. He's usually about 4, 5, 6 in the standings.
Yeah, I caught that a little heavy. He actually wanted an angle on the 5. Now he's got to draw the cue ball kind of towards the brown 7. And kind of cheated the pocket to avoid the brown. He's going to fall fairly straight on the 6, so not out of the woods yet here in rack number 3. Maybe able to cheat it just a little bit to get the brown in the left middle. Oh, I didn't realize it went in the right middle. That makes things easier.
Jason Shaw from Glasgow, been based in the US for some time now. Someone who's become absolutely synonymous with the game's most high-profile event, the Mosconi Cup. Never more so than last year when he was captain of the European team for the first time, led them to victory, claimed the MVP accolade. And he's also claimed rack 3 off the back of a terrible error from Wenan Tan. Shaw in front again at 2-1. Very unexpectedly missing in any of these tours. Long leading 8s.
China, where the thought he was. Got there.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
Elementary positional error by Wenan Tan early in rack 3, basically handed it to Jason Shaw. So the Scot leads again at 2-1. It's a race to 10 for a place in the quarter-finals of the UK Open here in Telford.
Commentators Kerr's talking about Jason rarely missing the one and caught both jaws, it looked like. Yeah, but just narrowly on the bottom end. Awkward rack, it appears. And you know, as a favorite, going into that first commercial break, you just like to have the lead. You know, even if you're a favorite, you know, you don't want to be down 2-1. Of course, we saw last match, it got out of hand after that first break at 3-0. And no matter who you are, you can kind of give in to the pressure if things don't go your way. But this, I think Jason wants some of these odd kind of racks as well, some tactical exchanges between him and Win Antoine. I feel like players, I didn't know that was even makeable, but I feel like players feel like they can break a player down a little more if we get into some of those tactical exchanges.
Nice nudge on the 2 there. As the cue ball came back down this end of the table.
And I think he can open the problem, the 6-9 here, just nip it on the way by. Yeah, like that, trying to get on the 3 on the side. Now he's covered up the 4. So this is going to be odd. So he's on the wrong angle of the red 3. He's got to come some 3 rails around with proper speed to fall between the green 6 and the pink 4. The speed looks pretty good if he can avoid the 8. He just nicked it, and that took a little off the cue ball, and it put the 8 in a more awkward position for later in the rack. I think he does go for the bank here, though.
So when we get to the weekend of these big events, I always feel it's worth outlining the basics for people who might be new to 9-ball. Basically, so long as you hit the lowest numbered ball remaining on the table first, any ball you pot is legal and it keeps you at the table. And ultimately, it's all about the 9, because irrespective of what other balls are potted, it's all decided by who pots the 9, because that is the winner of the rack. And if, for example, the lowest numbered ball remaining on the table is the 6, and if you can hit the 6 onto the 9 and pot the 9, well, then the rack is yours.
Yeah, and it is a ball in hand game. Any foul, if you don't make contact on the object ball, scratch on the break, anything like that, you surrender ball in hand, you can put it anywhere. And a pretty solid out here after a dry break from Jason Shaw.
And the 9 just wriggles in, so when Antoine once again levels with Jason Shaw at 2-all in the early stages of this last 16 encounter. Let's look in on table 3 now. Mickey Kraus, who won the European Open last year, got into the Mosconi Cup and Reyes Cup teams. He's sitting down at the moment because this is his opponent, Pius Labutis of Lithuania. He's been in 3 big matchroom semi-finals in the last couple of years, yet to win one of them, make it through to a final. He's given himself a chance again this weekend. The winner of this will play Scotland's Fraser Patrick later today in the quarters.
Yeah, nice shot there from Pius, and slowly becoming kind of Mr. Consistent without ever winning one of these major events, and kind of shocked when he exits somewhat early like he did at the European Open. And I think you'd have to name Aloysius Yap the real Mr. Consistent for today's game, but this guy here, he just rarely plays a bad match. Not always like lights out like you would like to have, but super solid.
Back to the main table in time to see the outcome of Wen's break. Well, he's made the one. What else has he got?
Yeah, he's got the one down, eerily similar to the opening break, the two opening up on that end of the table. Now the cue ball's gotten kissed downward. This isn't what he wants, not at all. He's gotten Jason in an awkward cueing position over the green 6, but not the best safety.
Now with one other result to give you, Quang Nam Pham of Vietnam is into the quarterfinals with a 10-8 win over Duong Qua Quang. Little bit of an upset, you might say. Duong has been in 3 big Matchroom Open event quarterfinals in the past, including
Extension, please.
last time out at the European Open in Sarajevo, but not this time. Quang Nam Pham wins 10-8 and will play Aloysius Yap of Singapore in the quarters.
Yeah, Jason, it was difficult no matter which choice he made, so he decided to try and dig on the cue ball, kind of pinch it a bit to hold for the 3, and consequently tends to make you want to hit the object ball a little thicker, trying to contain the cue ball.
As I said, it's the first time Wen's been to this stage of one of these events. Beat Konrad Yasushin, decent Polish player, to get to the last 32 of the World Championship the year before last, but then lost to Estonia's Dennis Graba. And he got to the last 64 then of 4 other Matchroom events that year, but lost at that stage every time. Did come close to beating Viktor Zielinski to make further progress at the US Open. And this is new ground for him at the age of 36.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the shot right-handed. Really sweet on the pink 4 to get that short position on the 5, making the rack kind of open up for these last 4 or 5 balls. Just don't take your eye off anything. You could see a hair sidearm there, and that's usually a sign of a player starting at a very young age. He doesn't slow roll many of them, Michael.
Yeah, just absolutely thumps them, doesn't he? Well, 2 things that haven't happened yet in this match. A player winning 2 racks in a row, and Wen Tan being in front. But now, both of those things have happened.
Antoine wins the rack.
And the man from Vietnam hits the front at 3-2. 3-2 also now for Piers Labutus in that match we were looking in on earlier against Mickey Kraus. And this is what's going on table 2. Tyler Steyer, the American who had that fine win over Joshua Filler, 5-3 up on Naoki Oi. Steyer will be very familiar to those of you who watch the Mosconi Cup year after year. Going along very nicely. Looking to get to the quarterfinals of one of these events for the first time. Now leading 6-3. He's a big favourite to do so. The only American in the last 16 of this UK Open.
Yeah, as great as Tyler is, not making that quarterfinal is a little surprising with all those tools, but you know, when he's won some of the smaller ranking events, or you know, he won an incredible field at the Texas Open a couple years ago for the 50th anniversary. He played at a
Back
level that
6.
was pretty unreal.
Win Antoine to break. Leading
I'll
3
continue
racks
with that
to
in a
2.
moment. We'll watch Wen Antoine break here in game number 6.
Leading for the first time.
All right, the one's been stingy. the 9 was threatening.
Yeah, and what Jeremy's talking about there, the sense of the 9 threatening. As I was saying earlier, so long as you hit the lowest numbered ball on the table first, any pot is legal. And whoever pots the 9 wins the rack. And sometimes both of those things come together. The 9 is made off the break. It's referred to as the golden break, and it wins you the rack in a single shot. It wasn't far away from happening there.
No, and you can see a possible 3-9. So I think Jason does attack. He's gambling a little going into the 8 with so much congestion, but I can't let those happen. It's not what Jason Shaw wanted. But what I was getting at with Tyler is, as great as his fundamentals are, sometimes you need to play that match that's, you feel the stroke a little bit, you kind of have that performance you're looking for. And I think he's done that now a couple times. He certainly did it last night against Josh Filler, and looks like he's kind of continuing on today against Naoki Oi.
A couple of bad errors from Shaw already in this match. He's paying the price here.
Yeah, Shaw, who also is one of the best going rail first on all these types of kick shots. It looks like he's welded them to the back, so it's a 2-rail escape. Yeah. I think he's got to go for the 3-9 here. I think anything else is just as difficult. I think the 3 does pass, but it's awfully snug.
Extension, please.
And again, for any newcomers, 30-second shot clock, but you are allowed 1 extension per rack. Shaw using it here to figure this one out. And using it to very good effect. He's absolutely thumped that 9 into the pocket. Shaw levels again at
Jason
3
Shaw wins
all.
the rack.
Jason Shaw making another big error at the start of that rack, but making up for it at the end.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
The cream of the crop rises to the top. It is Killer Instinct from Joshua Filler.
Joshua Filler winning the first ever UK Open 3 years ago, but in the end, Jeremy, that tournament probably ended up having more long-term significance for the man he beat in the final, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ruiz started that year off by winning the Derby City Classic, but then the next real major event was the inaugural UK Open, and losing his first match, down 6-0 in his second match, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And fought all the way back to win there, and then kept it plugging and really made history the next 18 months, almost like something we've never seen before. Now Jason gave the little thumbs up to the pool gods for snookering him on the break here, and he'll show you as the match goes on.
As I said, Filler went out last night. Eklund Kachi had already gone. And Robbie Capito went yesterday. So all three past winners of the UK Open eliminated, along with some of the other players you might have considered big contenders for the title. It's a massive weekend of opportunity for so many of these guys in Telford.
Yeah, not much of a push-out option that he liked. So knowing he's never going to get the snooker with that kick shot, but maybe trying to turn it into some tactical battle here to get the lead for one of these guys here in game number 7. Okay, pretty nice. Did he cut off the entire 2-ball, though? I don't think so. Of course, we're lucky enough to have a screen for each table, and I'm paying attention to the lone American, and I tell you, he looks pretty darn good out there.
Yeah, Tyler Starr closing in on a 7-3 lead now over Naoki Oi.
Yeah, and he's just made 2 bank shots in a row to get in position. One cross side, one long railer. Beautiful safety with the soft spin. Made that look easy, did Jason Shaw, and it certainly wasn't.
Now again, for newcomers to the game, this is a feature of it, the jump shot. You're allowed to jump over intervening balls.
Okay, trying to use some kind of cover with all those balls there on that upper left end, but did hold the cue ball like he wanted. Maybe he was trying to slide it one rail behind the 3. And the jump cue, we talk about it all the time, of course, has become a big, big part of the game. And I think just because the players, how great they are with it. Can't do much with the cue ball.
You know, Jason Shaw comes to this UK Open every year, as we alluded to earlier, with a touch of the Andy Murrays about him, you might say, when all those years when Andy Murray carried home hopes at Wimbledon. It's the same for Jason Shaw in the UK Open. But actually, he's never even been the leading home performer in it, because the first year in London, it was Imran Majid, got to the last 16. Shaw didn't make the weekend. The following year, there were 2 British players in the last 16, but neither of them was Shaw. It was the English pair, Chris Melling and Gary Wilson. And then last year, Gary Wilson was the leading home player again, getting to the last 32 and losing Hill to Alban Ocean. And of course, if Shaw loses this match again, there'll be a home player who's gone further than him, because Fraser Patrick is already through to the quarter-finals, the first British player ever to make the last 8 of this UK Open.
Yeah, Jason just playing one of those racks where you're just an inch out of line with the cue ball, so you got to make a bit more of a shot here and there. Yeah, you can see him raise the hand there. And what I was going to say prior to a couple shots ago, that he doesn't look like he's totally comfortable to me just yet. Just the way he's striking the ball.
For sure. But winning 2 racks in a row for the first time in the match can only help, and that's exactly what Jason Shaw has done. So he's back in front at 4-3. Now, of course, you're always keeping a very close eye on the American contingent, JJ, and as we've said, Tyler Steyer is the only one of your boys still in the championship here. How much is that win over Joshua Filler going to transform his own self-image, his confidence going forward and trying to go deep in one of these events for the first time?
Yeah, here's one of our young juniors. I think he's 10 years old. Is that Hugo, I believe, in our semifinal?
Yeah, this is the Jason Shaw Junior Open. We have these junior events now alongside the Matchroom Majors, and this will be played to its finish today. It's frightening seeing some of these guys and girls and just how good they are at such a young age. I remember when we had the junior event in Spain a couple of years ago, honestly, one of the kids looked about 3 years old. Now, obviously, it was more than that, but could still play really, really well. It's astonishing to see.
Yeah, the cue stick's taller than that young man, it seems, but and what I love is the emotion, of course. They're so into it and wanting to compete and
leading 4 racks to 3.
Making incredible memories, those youngsters.
Well, I remember last year we were here just days after Kyron Wilson had won the World Snooker Championship, and he came here and brought his son, Bailey, to play in the Jason Shaw Junior Open.
Now he's missed the one. That's twice in a row, and that's one thing Jason's got to leave those things behind. That's not really a mistake. It looked like he hit it how he wanted. Well, maybe a hair thin, actually. So maybe he knows that one was on him a bit.
But just returning to that point I was making, you know Tyler Steyer very well. You've captained them in the Moscone. Is that win over Filler going to make a big difference to him in terms of confidence going forward? Or do you feel he has huge belief in himself already and doesn't need a moment like that?
Choice, please.
No, I think we all need moments like that, and he certainly has huge belief. He wouldn't make this trip across the pond just to kind of show up. But the one thing about it, not only the name of Filler and how Filler's been playing, but I think Tyler realized what kind of match he has to play to win that. And what happens in sports is you feel those things while you're doing it, and you feel that you're loose and whatnot. So now it's going to be easier for him to kind of repeat that, not only here at the UK Open, but moving forward in his pool career period. And I think that's why you see it's just been a ton of offense over here for Tyler, and really kind of taking control of the match against Naoki Oi.
When I spoke to him after the win last night, I said, you didn't put a foot wrong for the whole match. And he said, you can't against that guy. Yeah. And that just underlines that he's very conscious of the level he needs to get to if he's to take those steps forward. Leading American performer at the Moscone last year, bringing it to the individual stage here in Telford this week. Meanwhile, early stages of rack 8 in this last 16 encounter.
Probably the jump. The guys like to go with the jump a lot of times. To me, right here, the kick really offers a lot of safety. You kick to the side rail there on the top of your screen.
Extension, please.
Kick across. A lot of ways to get the snooker. The jump shot's a little more, either win or lose with it, really. No other options. Now, he kicked with a lot of speed. I didn't know if that was necessary, but he'll take it.
Jason Shaw, of course, forever associated with Nguyen's home country of Vietnam. When we went to Hanoi for the first time for the big event there a couple of years ago, Shaw emerged as the winner, the first time he'd won one of the Matchroom Majors. He is a former US Open champion from 2017, but that was in the pre-Matchroom era.
He's going to get him maybe on the pink here. Just a little shy, so got to believe it's the short cue for Willie Antoine. And it's little things. I mean, like right here, he did leave a shot, but this is not easy at all. He's got to work the cue ball back and forth for some kind of look on the blue, too. Jason will attack from here, but Cue ball's got to go a bit. I think it just did get there. But that one right there, to me, looked a lot more settled with the stroke. You know, even getting into the shot, it's almost like his routine's back all of a sudden. And what people don't realize, just like, you know, we see it in other sports like golf. We always bring up golf a lot of times, but, you know, your process is what kind of keeps you engaged, you might say. You know, the things you do prior to getting down on the ball really make a huge difference in very nervy kind of moments, you know, which are the biggest moments in the game. What a shot there.
Not been more than a single rack in it either way so far. Shaw can change that here.
Little flat here, so he'll probably put a little speed here, get a little ricochet off the ball. Yeah, like that. That way he opens up the cue ball a little bit.
Starting to really assert his favourites tag in this match. This is going to be 3 racks in a row for the Scot. And with that 9 ball, he goes a couple clear. He's halfway to his target now. Shaw leads 5-3. I can tell you Tyler Steyer, who we were chatting about, has added another to his tally. 8-3 up on Naoki Oi. As we look in on the junior event, Lorenz Geitz of Germany, 6-2 up on Hugo Boyle. And these look like being the winning moments for a place in the final of the Jason Shaw Junior Open.
Yeah, Germany seems to keep producing those great young players.
Yeah, and could play Felix Vogel in the final, which would be an all-German affair. Mickey Kraus now leading 5-3 over Pius Labutus. And it's 2-1 in favour of Poland's Viktor Zielinski over Alexa Peszelj of Serbia. Emily Fraser from Matchroom there, offering a combination, I would say, of commiserations and congratulations to the youngster there. So that's what's going on around the Telford International Centre on this Saturday afternoon. We return, though, to the main table as Jason Shaw looks to press on, having established a good lead here.
Yeah, and he's going to start pulling those hairs out. I'll tell you, if this one ball ends up short again. And again, the cue ball is below the rack, so sometimes that's a sign of a little thin. I think that's what it was again. Didn't see the 9 move a whole lot. That's sometimes a sign the rack's a hair off, but that seemed okay. And Antoine expected a little contact on that 1 as it got towards all that congestion near the racking end. Didn't get it, and now another tester for Eagle Eye, but one he's up for, I believe.
have really opened the door to this rack. The moment passes.
Nice shot there, and I wonder if Jason's going to jump and try and play a kiss shot. If you're new to 9-ball pool, he can come off the one with the cue ball as long as he hits the one first, like Michael talked about. Any ball, including the 9, is available. So
Extension, please.
feel like he's going to play the kiss onto the blue 2.
And holding his hand up in acknowledgement that he's had a bit of fortune with how they've finished. When Antoine, as we've said, from Vietnam, and we went there for the first time for that Hanoi Open towards the end of 2023, Jeremy, and we'd heard that the game was really booming there, but I don't think any of us was prepared for what we saw when we arrived.
Yeah, not only at the venue, but throughout the city. So many pool rooms, 60, 70 tables. Seemed like there were 100 pool rooms in just the Hanoi city alone. And is he going to fluke it? He is. Huge, huge there. Looked like it was starting to go a little Eagle Eye's way, and now when Antoine's got a chance to kind of change that a bit. But yeah, and then once we got to the venue, you know, you had some 2,500 fans the first year in the stands, and so knowledgeable fans. I've never seen a sporting event in the recent era where no one, absolutely no one, it seemed like, besides taking a picture, they weren't on their phones at all. They were watching every ball, and probably 400 or 500 fans outside that were waiting for players to exit just to get a chance to get a picture or a photograph. And it's truly awesome, Michael.
And I remember the final that Shaw played against Alban Ocean, as we see how closely matched they are in terms of balls potted. It felt like everyone in the crowd had decided to take one side or the other and then chant the players' names all through the closing racks of that wonderful final that Shaw won. And it was much the same when we went back there last year. Johan Chua winning the title then. It's the start of a 2-week Asian tour, because that led then into the Reyes Cup in Manila just a few days later.
Yeah, I watched some of that final not long ago. Just happened to pop up, you know how they pop up on your phone, and watched quite a few. And that was that crazy combination. I believe it was at 5-1 or 6-1 for Alban that he made and went across and scratched and turned the entire match around. And I mean, the U.S. Open, of course, Jason Shaw's biggest win in his career. I think he would tell you the same individual win. But when you talk about a special win, and obviously a huge one also, is that inaugural tournament there right in Hanoi.
Yeah, won that US Open back in 17. Raced out into a massive lead over a very young Eklan Kachi. Saw it out comfortably from there. And when Antoine did lead 3-2, he then lost all of the next 3 racks. But has taken this one, and he's still in with a great chance of making the quarterfinals here. He's only one behind. Shaw leads 5-4.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
công nhận nãy phim hay ghê.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
We're going to talk golf just for a moment because it is very much major season, and the PGA Championship gets underway on Thursday for round one from Quail Hollow, which is one of Rory McIlroy's favourite courses. He's won 4 times there in the past. Can he make it back-to-back success in the majors as Xander Schauffele looks to defend the title he picked up there last year? 1 o'clock on Sky Sports Golf on Thursday for that one.
10. Win Antoine.
I think now you know what Jeremy and I will be doing next weekend, watching all the action from Quail Hollow. This weekend, though, it's all about the UK Open Pool Championship, when Antoine is back to only 1 behind now against Jason Shaw, the Vietnamese star, breaking at 5-4 down.
I'll tell you, Michael, I mean, I kind of feel like both players are up for this match. And of course, looking to advance, but it seems like whoever gets the break worked out is probably the favorite. I mean, I know Jason's the favorite on paper, but both struggling with the one on the side and the odd ball here and there.
So 2 dry breaks in a row for Juan Antoine. Tyler Steyer, I can tell you, is now on the hill, 9-3. He leads Naoki Oi, so 1 more rack, and Steyer will be in to the quarterfinals of one of these Matchroom major events for the first time. Alexa Pichelge and Victor Zielinski level at 3-all, and Mickey Kraus just ahead of Pius Labutus at 5-4.
Yeah, Labutus just made a great out to get to 5-4 and then scratched on the break, so Mickey Kraus right back at it. Difficult push-out situation. Not a whole lot of ways to get a good look here. I thought he might kick 2 rails behind this, try and bang the one away and stick the cue ball behind the 3-7, if that's on offer. Jason very good with all these kick shots, so if he's passing on it, it's probably no good. If you're new to the game of 9-ball, after the break and only after the break, whether it's the breaker on a ball, oh, watch out, this 9 going to get in the way. I was going to say, but only after the break. If it's the breaker on a ball after a ball being made, or the incoming player like here after a dry break, you have an option to declare a push out, and you can move the cue ball wherever you want. Like there, he could contact the 9 with no foul involved, and the incoming player has the option to take the shot or pass it back. It's the only time in the game you have that option is after the break, but very interesting part of the game, and at this level, very, very important. Oh, wow. Shaw tried to get some type of safety, but it just wasn't there, and that's why you saw him take so much time after the break shot. Say, that looked like it had a lot of speed on it. It's going to get a little above the 2. Now he's going to have to work the cue ball. I don't know if he can draw 1 rail over or not. This is the problem with that first shot, getting thin on the 2. Now had to really get into the cue ball, and what happens if you're just off a little bit, the speed control is off, and now he's falling straight in on the red 3 with the pink on the opposite side. So this is going to take all his skills. Is he drawing this all the way back and out? Is that enough? No, it's going to catch the 8. I think he does have a cross-side bank that goes. He's going to have to draw the cue ball in position for the purple 5. It does not pass the black 8.
So by far the less experienced of the two, but he's holding up well, and just when it looked as though Shaw might be taking a grip on things, and he went a couple clear, Antoine in all probability is going to level the scores once again. Showing no signs really, Jeremy, that he's in any way phased by what is probably the biggest match he's ever played.
Well, he's a very talented player. He backs himself to pocket the ball. We've seen that in this match already. He's not going to back down, and once you start to knock some balls in, that arm's going to get a little more confident. And we say not as experienced, but in the last few years, he's been in a lot of big tournaments, so gaining that experience every chance he can.
Dry break from Antoine. But it's not about what happens at the start of the rack. It's all about what happens at the end of it. And in this case, that is when potting the 9 to win 2 in a row and level at 5-all. Let's dip in on table 2. Tyler Steyer, as I said, on the hill, leading Naoki Oi of Japan 9-3. Steyer has really pulled away after it was fairly close going in the start. So just looking for one more to get to his first big matchroom quarter-final. And surely not. What a way to finish it! So for the second time today, someone makes their first major quarter-final, clinching it with a golden break. That's the way you dream of doing it, JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And he really put a package together, it seemed like, towards the end. I think it was 4 breaking runs out of the last 6 games. And that's certainly a recipe to win, and when he does.
So Tyler Steyer into his first quarter-final. We've got Fraser Patrick, Hona Suta, Wampong Nam Pham. So that's 4 players already who have never been to the quarterfinals of one of these matchroom majors before, but will this time. And of course, we could see Antoine add his name to that list. Weekend of opportunity for so many of these guys. So Steyer will play either Viktor Zielinski of Poland or Serbia's Alexa Peszelj. Zielinski leading 4-3 at the moment. Mickey Kraus also won in front in his match. The Dane is 5-4 up on Lithuania's
Rack
Pius
11.
Labutis.
Scores tied at 5 racks all.
Back here.
Antoine to break.
Antoine really holding up well. Back on level terms.
Yeah, the 1 has been difficult in that side. It did catch the knuckle, as we see occasionally, and run down the rail for the upper left corner, but you still feel like someone's going to get some separation with the break shot at some point.
Yeah, really what you're trying to do is make the 1 in the side. That's 3 times in a row now that he's failed to do that. And the fortune that it's dropped in a corner pocket.
Yeah, I don't see much. Maybe a little nip on the left side of the blue 2. Maybe go towards the 9 with the cue ball. If he tries to clip this 2 and run the cue ball all the way back down where it's at now, I don't know. And sometimes, you know, you think about the push-out option we discussed a moment ago. It's not always when you're snookered.
Push out
Even
cold.
when you can see the lowest valued ball on the table, sometimes you don't like that position,
Jason,
so
your
you're
choice,
going to
please.
play a little gamesmanship, I guess you might call it, with the push-out option.
Pius Labutis has now levelled that match against Mickey Kraus at 5-all.
Thank you, Antoine. Please play again.
Yeah, Jason usually very good with this decision on the push-out. He passes it back to Antoine, so we'll see what he had in mind. Is he going to push through on the 2? Try and bank it down and maybe go behind the 9 with the cue ball? That would take a lot, but it is there. He decided to just keep it simple. knowing he was never going to get the snooker, but at least trying to play something where Jason's got to play a nice return.
It's not the first time these two have been on opposing sides with a quarter-final spot at stake. When Britain played Vietnam in the last 16 of the World Cup of Pool in Spain the summer before last, both of these guys were involved, and the British team only just got through in a hill-hill finish, 7-6. Wen was partnered with Duong Quoc Huang that week in Lugo. And when they beat Kuwait in the first round, it was the first time Vietnam had won a match in the World Cup for 17 years. They'd lost in the first round, 8 appearances in a row since their remarkable run to the semi-finals in the inaugural World Cup back in 2006 in Wales.
Yeah, that was a touchy shot from a long distance away, and he's done real well getting the snooker. Now, Eagle Eye, I don't think a lot, or maybe he would get overlooked with the jump cue, but when it comes to match play, he seems to bury big shots with it. This is certainly a makeable one.
One of the headline-grabbing moments of the match. Could that be something that starts to turn it back in Shaw's favour a bit? Remember, he was 5-3 in front.
Look like he's got a little bit. Okay, he's got a full pocket, so no problems here. I was going to say, if he didn't know how much of that pocket he had, and the 4s on the other end. The 5-8 combination on the lower left, the purple into the black, that's not too difficult. Now, Jason likes to kind of dig on this ball a lot of times. Like that, instead of playing the 2 rails across. Try and pinch the cue ball, you might say.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Using the 5 to pocket the 8, and in conjunction with that, striking the 5 in such a way that he was setting it up for the next shot.
I think he got perfect here, just a hint of an angle to draw over, get a bit closer to the brown 7. Now, does he kill it? Does he stun back and forth?
So there was a bit of work to do here. It's all but done now, though. Jason Shaw looking to reach the quarterfinals of his home open for the first time. And he's 4 racks away from doing it now. Shaw back in front at 6-5. Now let's try to keep across everything else that's going on. That's Poland's Viktor Zielinski at the table here on table 4. Someone we've been waiting for a while to see go really far in one of these events. Been talking about it happening for some time now. A very capable Polish player. And his opponent, Peszelj, has been to the US Open semi-finals a couple of years ago. Got to the brink of being on the Mosconi Cup team that year. But it's Zielinski leading at the moment. Closing in on 6-3. Winner of this will play American Tyler Steyer in the quarterfinals later. Mickey Kraus of Denmark has got himself back in front in that nip and tuck match against Pius Labutis. Kraus 6-5 in front. Does well in a lot of the smaller tournaments, Zielinski. Looking to get to a big matchroom quarter-final here, and he's got a great chance. 6-3 up. And a clash of young European players. As we go all the way back to the main table, where Shaw is about to break in rack 12. Back in front at 6-5.
Yeah, Jason kind of eyeing the rack and You know, these
Lead
refs,
is
of
6
course,
racks
it's
to
marked to
5.
get it as good as you can, and they do an incredible job, but trying to do anything to get the one in that side. He's made it. That's a good feeling. He's going to be near the blue 2, and I think a bank is on offer, so. Feel like he took a hair of speed off of that one, really. Maybe try to get a little more accurate on that cut on the 1.
First time in 5 racks that someone has made the 1 ball in the side off the break.
Okay, this bank, it fooled me. It's not there, so he's going to try and float behind the 9-7, or 9-5 rather. He's going to try and knock this 2 away, maybe catch a little of the brown and slide the cue ball to the short rail. Oh, he caught it way thin. So the overhead didn't tell us. That hopped several times and caught the top of the 2 ball. That's why you saw the 2 was kind of weak. Watch it jump on top of the 2, even though there was so much speed.
Well, cue ball stayed on the table, but didn't really make a great deal of difference. Even with ball in hand, that's pretty much where he would have been playing from. And Shaw now with a golden chance to put a little bit of distance between them again.
Yeah, we'll see how he plays this. A little flatter than he maybe wanted. Does he come 2 cushions around the brown 7? Does he kind of stun 1 rail? This is a hair odd, so he's got to pay attention to the cue ball. He went with the inside. I think that was a smart choice. Now, he doesn't have to draw all the way back. Just draw into that cutting position on the green 6 for the right middle. Main thing, keep the cue ball off the cushion.
Jason Shaw did briefly fall behind in this match at 3-2.
Extension, please.
But if he can finish it off here, this will be 5 out of the last 7 racks. Not like he swept into a dominant situation here, but just steadily asserting himself. And getting to that point now where he can just start to see the finish line come into view. He's just 3 racks away from a place in the quarterfinals tonight. Shaw leads by 2 once again at 7-5.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
In the 3 previous stagings of the UK Open, we've never had a UK player in the quarter-finals. We've already got one this time. Fraser Patrick winning earlier today against Georgi Georgiev to book his spot in the last 8 later today. And we may have another, because Jason Shaw is leading Wen Antoine by 7 racks to 5. He needs 3 more to set up a meeting with Kona Suto, who has been one of the form players on the World 9-Ball Tour so far this year. And if he does get to the quarters, Jeremy, I hope he shakes off that cough
Rack
before the match
13.
begins.
Jason Shaw to break.
Yeah, he's
Leading
kind of
7
had it for a
racks to
couple days.
5.
He and I talked about it. He said he feels great. He's just had a little bit of congestion. All right, the 1's down. That's 2 times in a row. Is the 3 going to get involved? Yes, it is. And that's a nice 3-ball for Wen Antoine, because this rack was set up nicely if that 2 had opened up. Don't think Jason takes on the jump shot here. You can see there's greater distance between the cue ball and the 3 than there is the 2 and the 3, so not the type of jump you normally want to take on. Not in love with this angle going between the 3-9 to the short cushion to try and kick from behind the 2. I like maybe bumping the 7 on top of the pink and calling a push out for another kick shot there. Like I said, I'm not in love with this angle. Oh, he hit it nice, and he's going to hold behind the 5. So we always talk about it 9-ball pool, and this is any level. You have to gamble a little bit. You have to shoot shots at times that you just don't know the outcome totally. And how many times has Wen Antoine used the jump cue in this match? It's been a lot. He's going to love this. Even though I think the 2 did open up between the 3-9, but not much.
Still the possibility, of course, that we could have an entire quarter-final lineup later of players who have never won one of these matchroom tournaments. Jason Shaw, Mickey Kraus, the only players left in the tournament who have.
Yeah, that one's going to hurt. Cue ball wasn't on the correct path. The 2 ball was overhit. Just like when it was 5-3, I believe, a little tactical exchange that Wen Antoine got the best of, and here we are again.
Well, that felt like a big moment, didn't it? He's getting to the stage where he's still very much in the match, but afford to fall any further behind, or it suddenly becomes a very big task. A chance they're missing that by some way.
Yeah, Jason wants to get on that 8-ball. May have left a gap, certainly left a kick. Doesn't seem too unhappy, so well, there definitely is a look at the blue 2. Yeah, not the best tactical exchanges from these 2 players. Neither has gotten the snooker when trying to get one. And now the long ball for Eagle Eye. I think he does attack. Nifty little shot there. Again, a lot of safeties, you know, especially at this level, you're not getting ball in hand. You're just trying to improve your situation percentage-wise, and Eagle Eye's so good. And if the 7 has him cut off a little bit here, if you can't use the jump cue, this is going to be a difficult hit.
Foul.
You could see when Tkon calling the foul on himself. The ref was on top of
Ball in
it, though.
hand.
So did he
Restart
make
the
the
clock.
7? Was it? Oh, yeah, with the cue stick.
Just after striking the cue ball. Pretty clear to see on replay, so ball in hand for sure. And a chance perhaps to open his biggest lead yet.
Extension, please.
Would have liked 4 or 5 more inches off that bottom cushion just to make this 3 in the side a little more comfortable.
The winner of this, JJ, will play Honasuto in the quarterfinals later today. And we've seen the Spaniard win a couple of the smaller ranking events already in 2025. So is he ready to win a tournament on this level?
I think so. I mean, you know, a lot of those tournaments you're talking about doesn't have 256, but they have 70 to 90 players or so that are very, very good. A lot of the same players that are in these majors. And prior to us, you know, really getting the show going today, Hannah, our presenter, asked me who I liked with this final 16, and I gave her 2 picks. I said, I'm going to give you the trending pick, which I think is Sudo, and a kid that has all the talent to win. And then I'm going to go with Jason Shaw, UK's very own. Just like the way he's playing and then how he's feeling overall and the way he's been responding after the matches. It's all been positive stuff. So, but to answer your question, yes. Got away with one there. That was not very well struck. But yeah, I think Sudo's very ready.
Will be a tasty quarter-final tonight if it comes off. Shaw against Suto. I think we can pretty much say for certain it would be on the main table. And it's getting pretty close to happening
Jason
now,
Shaw wins the rack.
because Jason Shaw has won 3 racks on the spin and just needs a couple more now to book his place in the last 8 of this UK Open. Still 2 other places to be decided, and one of those is being contested on table 3. Piers Labutus at the table. 3 times a semi-finalist in these Matchroom Opens, never a finalist. One of those semis came in this event last year. He was just a couple of racks away from making the final. He's trailing against the former European Open champion Mickey Kraus, 8-6 to the day. A lot of people saying Labutus could do exactly what Kraus did last year and become the first player from his country ever to make the European Mosconi Cup team. If he could win the title here this weekend, he'd have a wonderful chance, but needs a big finish if he's to get past Kraus.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that match, and I think Pius has played really well. Of course, Mickey's got the lead, but it's been a lot of shot making for Mickey. Doesn't have command on the cue ball, just like missing that safety behind the red 3. So we'll keep you informed as that match moves along.
Yeah, Kraus had a very disappointing defence of that European Open title in
That's
Sarajevo
14.
in March, but
Jason
fair
Shaw
to say he's
3.
bounced back. He won the Scottish
Leading 8
Open,
racks to
coming
5.
through a strong field. a week ago. And here he is, closing in on a quarter-final place. As is Shaw, 8-5. And he's made the one in the side, Jake.
Yeah, he's figured that out. It's 3 in a row, I believe. He's made the one on the side. The 2's over that same side pocket. So now no push out involved here in rack number 14, and a good chance for Eagle Eye to get to the hill.
That's another term you might not be familiar with if you're new to 9-ball. On the hill basically means you need one more for the match. And hill is when both players need one more.
That's what we all love seeing, except for the players, of course. Now he's inspecting a little bit of a tricky positional play onto the 3. He'd like to avoid the 3-7 combination, just because combinations, you're not going to miss that, but it could get away a little bit. Okay, the speed is pretty good, needs to settle a little. Tricky out, though. Look at the 6 and 8 on the bottom rail. That's an odd one with the purple 5 up the table. You just kind of float by the pink 4 here with a little draw. Let's get away from the 9.
What you described as tricky has just become a bit trickier.
Yeah, very. He's got a 7 in the side hanging, so if he can get any of the pink onto the brown, should stay at the table. Now he's perfect. He can just draw this out a little bit, take the angle on the purple 5 to swing the cue ball some 3 rails between the 6 and 8. Be shocked if he doesn't see this.
Sort of feels like this could be the match right here, doesn't it? Doesn't feel like the sort of situation where Antoine is going to win 5 in a row, which is what he'll need to do if Shaw finishes this out here. Never take it for granted, of course.
No, and he's elected to play for the 6-8 combination after the purple 5, and the problem with that is if you get all the way to the bottom rail, okay, he's held up a little bit. If you get to the bottom rail, you can make the combo, but you can't move the cue ball. At least now he has a little bit of an angle, so the cue ball should move forward with the 6, like so.
Makes the 6-8 combination, cozies the 6 over the pocket. And you described it as a tricky one for Jason Shaw, but he's made it look pretty easy here, JJ. All quite routine. It certainly wasn't.
No, that right-handed shot looked a little tricky, I'll tell you. And Jason's right-hander doing a lot of things.
And he's really taking control of it now. Jason Shaw just needs one more. When Antoine looking for a bit of a miracle now. He's going to have to win all 5 remaining racks if his UK Open adventure is to continue here at the Telford International Centre on this Saturday afternoon. And it's an adventure for all these kids involved in the Jason Shaw Junior Open. We already have seen the conclusion of one of the semi-finals. Lorenz Geitz of Germany is through. Compatriot Felix Vogel looking to join them there. Just one in front of Savannah Easton, who of course is looking to break new ground by being a female finalist in one of these junior events. Only 15 years of age, I believe, JJ, from Las Vegas.
That's right, and I sat and watched her play in her first round match, and I watched Vogel. He was on the next table, and bright future for both these players. And this kid here, though, he's just a step away from starting to make some noise, I think, in some of these major events. He played in this one. Don't know if that's his first one or maybe his second, but he sure is solid and makes the game look easy at a young age.
Such a big German tradition in the game. Obviously, Joshua Filler, the standard bearer these days. Moritz Neuhausen recently won the Premier League, but you go back to the likes of Torsten Homan, 2-time world champion. Oliver Wortman as well, of course, and perhaps more than anyone, Ralph Souquet. Oh, but a late twist in the match, and this could go hill-hill. Savannah Easton must have thought her adventure here in Telford was at an end. Now it looks as though she's going to be breaking in a deciding rack.
Yeah, none of us expected that. See a little smile from Felix. He didn't expect it either, but hill, we love it, no matter if it's the pros or the juniors or anything in between.
Yeah, needed to keep her composure there. Needed a bit of doing. Was quite close to the 9 ball with the cue ball there. But totally unexpectedly, that one
Lap
continues.
15.
And we will, of course, let
Jason
you know
Shaw's breaking
how
on the
that
hill.
one finishes.
The score
This
is 9
one
racks
could
to
finish
5.
very soon. Shaw is on the hill. 4 in a row, making the one in the side. Now, where's it going to leave him?
Oh, he made the 2 as well, and the 3's over that same side pocket. Not sure what kind of smile that was. It didn't look like the best of smiles from Jason, but I thought he was in a good spot here. Cue ball is near the cushion. Maybe he's dead straight where he really can't work the cue ball into the position for the pink 4. Does he take it down in the corner? Kind of shoved that 3 in. It wasn't clean, but had that speed on it so it could slide up the rail, kind of overcome that facing on the pocket, and win Tkon, heck of a tournament, but I don't think we're going to get to see him cue the ball anymore.
And talk about delivering when the big moments come. By the time Jason Shaw led 8-5, neither player had had a break and run in the whole match. Shaw could finish it off with 2 in a row here. He had never been among the 16 players for the final weekend of a UK Open in the past. Earlier today, his fellow Scot Fraser Patrick became the first UK player ever to make the last 8 of the UK Open. We haven't had to wait long for another one, because with a run of 5 racks in a row from 5-all, Jason Shaw has swept to victory over Wen Antoine by 10 racks to 5, and Shaw will be back to face the informed Spanish player Hona Suto in the quarter-finals tonight.